your judicial workers, your court workers are underpaid. And they need help. Wichita has actually opened up a pantry for its court workers because their wages are so low. But the way in which the legislature can attempt to strangle the courts is by strangling their budget. And we'll see. Two bills that I voted on here, I voted no. Excuse me, I voted yes on the first one. If you have, and this is down your alley, sir, if you have a couple of DUIs and then you continue to drive on a suspended license and there is a death, the penalty increased from 2.5 to 5 years. Now what's kind of strange for me that day is then the companion bill, the only other bill we talked about is, and Ms. Coleman and I are laughing back here, but the statement was made, when people get off the night shift, they want to go have a drink. And you cannot buy drinks after 2 a.m. So the second bill, HB, and HB just stands for House Bill 2482, would allow clubs, establishments to start selling liquor at 6 a.m. Kids are coming to school at 6 a.m. You know, if you started drinking, I don't know. I voted no because I didn't quite understand the logic. Now you want to deter drinking and those with a DUI, but you want to start selling drinks at 6 a.m. So the selling the drink. So what the argument was, the caterers said they can do it because they want and they don't have an establishment. The bars and the restaurants said they're missing that dollar. They don't want the regulation, and they're missing the brunch group. Well, the law allowed you to sell at 9 a.m. Now we changed it so it's 6 a.m. And I proudly recommend it. I voted no. And I'll tell my local bartender, it just didn't make any sense to me. So call you this morning, and I included on here, if you need to get in touch with me, just call me. You know, I put my cell number on the back of this card. Some, you know, I have, each of our house districts had 21,000 people. So on here, how to schedule an appointment with the legislator. If you need any information, the state library is a great place to request. They have a lot of resources. But we haven't done much. There's an interest in building a new prison in Lansing. That's kind of been put on hold. There's still a question with Osawatomie. There's still, you know, mental health is not being addressed like it needs to be. And people go, well, you know, we don't have the money. Everything takes money. So that's nothing new. But revenue is going up. There'll probably be suggestions to have more taxes on sin taxes, alcohol, cigarettes, for additional revenue. You'd be surprised how much revenue you can raise by just doing 0.5%, not a full penny. That's pretty bold. But education is still the elephant in the room. Medicaid expansion, we're going to push it again, but Collier being a physician and a former representative who also was a physician named Lakin, he voted against it when he was in the House. And so he now is like the director of health and environment, and he's not the one. But we're still going to push it, you know, because we've got to get the word out. Those people who do not support programs that help people, you know? And even the disabled, CanCare is not working for many of the severely handicapped. I haven't looked at the budget for the blind school yet, but most of your state agencies have been locked down for the last 4, 5, 6 years. They don't even come and ask for an increase. It's kind of like, you know, hey, sit down and shut up and just say thank you for what you're getting. I'm like, come on, y'all. I know costs have gone up. Law enforcement, there is a issue that is getting more and more attention, and that's asset forfeiture. That Chief Ziegler came up and testified, turned some folks off by saying, and I think he was, I don't know, I wasn't there, so this is second, third hand, that, can you define asset forfeiture so I don't misdefine?
There's a state statute that allows law enforcement to seize your assets if you've committed a violent felony crime, and mostly they go after drug sales. That's where a lot of the assets forfeiture comes in, and what we do, if you get caught selling drugs or a certain amount of drugs, the state of Kansas has, they call it a drug tax stamp. You can actually go down to Topeka, you can buy a drug tax stamp, and you affix it to your drugs, whatever you're going to sell that day, and it avoids us from taking your assets. In the 24 years I've been at policeman, I've seen one. I've seen one tax stamp. And there's a tax on it. There's a guy from the Department of Revenue. He comes out, and whatever drugs we have, he has a scale. It's like you get caught with a pound of cocaine. There's a formula that you owe the state of Kansas tax because you sold it. We've caught you. Now you owe the state of Kansas tax. Whatever the tax comes out to be on that, he'll ask you, do you have the money to pay my tax? The answer is usually no. They start seizing your assets, whether it's your car. It depends if there's a lien on it. Depends what the lien is compared to the value. They'll take it. They'll auction it off. The state of Kansas keeps the money. The law enforcement officers, we also get a percentage of that money. It goes towards, it helps us with training, equipment we need. That's what it's used for. If you commit a violent felony, they catch you doing a drive-by shooting, we can seize your car.
Now there's another side to it, that you can stop me, and I am not charged with anything, and I'm not convicted with anything, and you can still take my assets.
Only if you've been convicted and you owe the state of Kansas money, you have to be on the list to owe money. But I can tell you here in KCK, we don't practice that.
And I'm not even,
Yeah,
I'm not standing up to the policeman and telling
No,
them,
and
tell
we
them,
don't.
tell
Now,
the
if we come across you on a call or something like that, and it's known that you're on the tax list, and we verify it, we just don't, these lists change constantly. So we have to verify with Department of Revenue and said, yes, Jerry Vest, he still owes us $2,000. Very bad news is you're going to jail. Whatever money's in your pocket, it goes to the state. That's how that comes about. But for us to go out and target those individuals, that's something that we do not do that.
And that,
Yes.
that, I believe
We
you,
do not.
but in testimony, there are situations that came up
Yes.
where the police did not follow the rules.
And that's involved, you find that if you look at the record, it'll go back, it's a lot of smaller jurisdictions where that comes
You know,
from.
Mayberry, USA,
yes.
Kansas.
And it could be, I just know here, yeah, there is a list,
Yeah.
and that list is not given out to patrolmen. That list is only kept for, our narcotic unit has the list, and our guys who have assigned to DEA and other task force jobs, those guys have the list. So that's who it's confined to within our department. So not every patrolman out here knows about the list of who's on those lists. It's confined to just our narcotic unit who has it.
That's a hot topic.
It is.
And it's a hot topic in Kansas because 20 years ago, the Highway Patrol stopped an older lady, seized $17,000. Court said it was an unlawful seizure,
Yes.
give it back, and she has never been compensated. Now she's passed the statute of limitations, and it was on in the budget last year to repay her. At night, the House members pulled it, and that caused a storm. So we'll see if it goes back but with respect, and
Yes.
that's why I
Oh,
brought it up.
Yep, and that
It
does,
is, it's an issue, it's a
It is.
wide issue, and the police chief came to testify that Kansas City, Kansas, as many police departments in the state of Kansas, they use the money for training, they just figured, it's in the budget.
in fact, we used some of that money to purchase our new radio systems a couple of years ago in our new computer systems. That's what the money's designed for.
Yeah.
That's how we get our equipment, because, you know, if we don't get our money from the state, that's the system, that's how it's designed. And how we do it, we wait for the court cases to be done before assets are allocated to us, is how that works. Now, Highway Patrol, on the other hand,
That's another story.
that's a whole
And that's
other ball of
another
wax, because I can tell you this, if a trooper stops a guy and they find a large sum of money, however they get in the car, and there's a lot of people who travel with cash,
Yeah.
people do, and
So-
all
so
they have.
Have a nice day minus your cash.
Yes, and they'll seize your cash, and what'll happen, you're gonna have to go back to the state of Kansas and prove, they wanna know where that money, they wanna know where that money comes from. They either think it's either drug money or it's
Yeah.
untaxed money. So you have to bring a paycheck stub, your receipt you got from the bank, wherever that money came from. And I can tell you, I worked narcotics for about 4 years. And a lot of the money that we seized, it was actual houses we served there for search warrants, that recovered dope with large sums of cash. That guy ain't coming to claim that money, because he already knows
Exactly.
where that came from. But to stop somebody and take their money like that, we've always had an issue with that, for the fact that the burden of proof was always on the police, no matter what. If I can't prove that money is an illegal proceed, how can I seize it?
And that's a great segue to, remember there are unclaimed assets
Yes.
that periodically from time to time, check the list to see if you or your relatives are on there. Because the last time there's like 3 or 4 million there
So
sitting there.
billions of dollars sitting in that bucket.
And the legislature just wants to get its hands on it, but right now we can't. We can't. So, but I want questions, I want to listen now. Opiates, yes, but we don't have legislation yet to address that. Nor do I know the status of the abandoned property bill.
I didn't even ask.
I know, I was trying to find out before it came. It's stuck in a committee. So what else should I be looking for? Yes, sir.
I guess been articles in the paper about the finding that school districts may have used millions of dollars improperly.
Transportation.
What's the status of that? And if that is finally the case, then the school district will have to pay that money back? Is that
No.
the case?
First, you've had maybe 4 to 5 million allocated. Deal is, law says any kid lives more than 2.5 miles from the learning center, the school. We need to provide transportation. Well, there are some places less than 2.5 miles, there are no sidewalks. Or you really don't want your kid to walk to school at 4:45, it's still dark. So, so Dale Dennis, who is like the commissioner, has been listening to the legislature for the last 40 years. And there may have been $4 to $5 million allocated for kids who were thank you for tolerating me. Just don't arrest me. You got money? Oh. Yeah.
She was a volunteer in our office, Ms. Harrison.
No,
For
she's
many, many
treacherous.
years.
Yeah,
You better
she
explain.
had the radio.
Many years.
Explain to me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I got you.
They did move me back down here, about end of October, November or so. I was doing part of this area, part of my old area, and they moved back over here full time. I asked for it.
We have a new chief, what's his name?
No, we have a new captain. Yes. Misty.
Misty?
Misty, yes. So,
Late?
yes,
Okay,
should be okay.
all right.
All right, we'll see you guys.
Okay, bye-bye. Let me finish this. Laser version, how do you go back and recoup for $45 million over 40 years? So 5 or 10 million extra cost. So the leadership, for whatever reason, they said, let's suspend the Commissioner of Education. And that was like putting gasoline on a fire. And so the state board said, in essence, he was just following direction of the legislature. Legislature would say, go ahead and spend the money for the last 40 years. So there's no way they can pay back $45 million. But post audit is gonna audit and see, and we'll have legislation that says something like, maybe we should reduce it to 2 miles, or in certain situations you document, but at the end of the day, you're still responsible for the safety of the kids going to school, but there won't be any paybacks.
Can I ask this question on the schools? Why did they cut, because of money, probably all the arts? I'm gonna tell you, I know a lot of the arts, I'm in the ball.
Yeah.
The kids that are in the arts are never in trouble. They're the most wonderful kids in the world. That's the first thing they cut.
You know, I don't wanna blame Brownback for everything, but I'll put him in that category.
That's right.
I wanna know the truth.
He, in essence, defunded the Arts Commission, which then was responsible for that special kind of programming. With that, then you sift to the Humanities Council, and you squeeze them, and then when there is a segment of folks who do not like public education. I can't figure that out, but they do not support public education. And one example is the kind of voucher system we have going on where religious schools can take the money from each student. And there's a whole movement. But at the end of the day, when then you are required to teach the math, the science, the language, the arts,